place, Las Vegas, Nevada. The event, the 34th Annual World Series of Poker. It's the final day, the final table, the final 5 players.
Shuffle up and deal!
On this very table, you are about to see an expedition tour guide, a Wall Street options trader, a former poker world champion, a young accountant from Nashville, Tennessee, and a high-stakes poker pro, all vying for $2.5 million and poker immortality. It's the World Series of Poker. Next. Welcome to historic Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas. The crowd got here early today, and over 7 hours later, everyone's still very anxious to see who will be crowned the next world champion of poker. It is finally time to give this money away to one of our 5 finalists at the 2003 World Series of Poker. It's the richest first prize anywhere, $2.5 million. Hello, everybody. I'm Lon McCarran, along with sports columnist and tournament poker player Norman Chad, coming your way from Binion's Horseshoe Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. You know, each poker table seems to have its own unique personality, and our final table today is no exception, Norman. They seem to really work well together, though, despite their diversity. It's more like a neighborhood game than any other championship event I've ever seen.
Yeah, but Lon, we're talking about a pretty expensive neighborhood. There is a lot of money at stake today. The difference between third place and second place is $650,000. The difference between second place and first place is $1.2 million. So this is a neighborhood game with an edge.
Absolutely. But when it's all said and done, one man will stand alone with the championship bracelet and $2.5 million. It will take a lot of skill and a lot of luck, but tonight one of these men will become a poker legend.
I have no superstitions, and that's one of my sort of trademarks throughout my career, is not to be superstitious, because I find that when people start getting superstitious, it can make them crazy.
The money means most to me. The reputation, it's a reputation. What is a reputation? It's like wind to me. This is poker. This is a game. And I keep that into perspective. So the reputation means nothing to me in reality.
It's not hit me that I'm here yet. I mean, I never dreamed I would make it this far. I came here hoping to make it through the first 2 days and say that, you know, I played with the best in the world. Now that I'm to the final table, I want to win it all.
I mean, we all worked hard to reach to this position. And it means a lot for a poker player than a businessman or an amateur. This is completely different.
These other players are under a lot more pressure than I am because I've done it before. I've been there. I know what to expect.
Just 5 players remaining from the original 9 at the final table. And let's take a look now at the chip count as we go around. Tomer Benvenisti, the low stack at 520,000. Jason Lester, just a bit over $1 million. Dan Harrington, 1.15. Chris Moneymaker did have the chip lead as we began the final table, but he has dropped just a bit. Most of his chips going to Sam Farha, 3.2, our chip leader, as we begin action now.
We are now playing shorthanded, and you'll play certain hands shorthanded that you wouldn't play at a full table.
Jason Lester folds. Now there's Dan Harrington with a pair of 4s, and as you mentioned, the 4s, we've seen some players play it on regularity.
They have added value when you just have 3 or 4 opponents.
Chris Moneymaker, ace deuce suited. He will call the 90,000 chip bet. Over now to Tomer Benvenisti, our expedition tour guide from Las Vegas.
All in.
Oh, he's going to go all in with his Jack 10. We saw the chip count from Tomer a moment ago. It's about 500,000. Sam Farha immediately folded. Dan Harrington folded as well. Action to Chris Moneymaker. Now the number shown next to a player's name is the percentage they will have the best cards when the hand is done.
And the ace deuce, even though suited, not really strong to want to put in this amount of chips. Your chances are you're never going to get the flush, and really the ace is the best card to help you. But Moneymaker's, he's staring down Tomer. Or maybe he just likes that shirt and is trying to figure out where he can buy it.
I'm going to call it.
Chris Moneymaker with a bold move. The pot is over $1 million.
And when they turn their cards over, Tomer's not going to like to see that he's actually a little behind because of the ace.
All right, we're ready for our flop. Benvenisti's tournament life at stake here.
No tens or jacks. No tens or jacks.
And here it comes. 2 8s and an ace. Chris Moneymaker has a pair of aces.
Oh, and he continues to sleep with angels. And because of that, Tomer about to be sleeping with the fishes unless he gets very lucky now.
Here comes the turn. It's a 9, and that helps Benvenisti, actually.
Tomer now has a straight draw. He will need a 7 or a queen to stay alive.
Don't do it to me.
Sam Farha looking on with amusement. And it is a 9, not good enough for Benvenisti. Moneymaker's gamble pays off. And for Tomer Benvenisti, 5th place, $320,000 in prize money and a Dream World Series. And a pot of more than $1 million to Chris Moneymaker in the home stretch of this No Limit Texas Hold'em World Championship.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's how you play No Limit Texas Hold'em. Everyone is dealt 2 cards face down. Players then bet, and for the first time must decide whether they're in or they're out. Next comes the flop. 3 community cards placed face up in the middle of the table that everyone can use. Players bet again. The dealer then reveals the turn, another community card, also called 4th Street. After another round of betting, the final community card is dealt. This is called the River, or 5th Street. One last time, players bet. Then reveal their cards. The best 5-card hand wins. But this is No Limit Hold'em.
All in.
And at any time, a player can go all in and bet everything he has. So at the World Series, every hand can be the hand that makes you or breaks you. 4-handed World Championship for Binion's Horseshoe Casino.
4-handed indeed. We've gotten rid of all the crumb bums and shoe clerks.
Is that why you're sitting next to me? All right, Chris Moneymaker folded, Dan Harrington folded. And to Sam Farha with an ace-9, he'll bet $80,000.
Call.
Jason Lester will call it with a couple of diamonds.
Yeah, Jack-9 suited.
Dan Harrington, nope. Sam Farha taunting Jason with the tiger. Ready for the flop, Farha and Lester. 2 8s and an ace. Sam Farha matched his ace.
Lester will be first to act.
Check.
And Farha changing it up, deciding to check his aces, which are way ahead.
Turn card is a 10 of diamonds, and that gives Jason Lester a straight draw.
He's still going to check, and maybe because Jason Lester called the first card, Farha doesn't want to bet right now, thinking that maybe Jason has an ace with a better kicker.
Another 10 on the river. Jason checks, and Sam Farha puts a bet, $100,000.
That's a small bet. It's like he can't get into too much trouble there. He must figure now that Jason Lester doesn't have an ace, else he would have bet earlier. And he can't get into too much trouble. If Jason Lester were to put a bunch of chips in now.
You notice the check mark next to Farha's name means he has the winning hand should they both stay in to the finish. Of course, Jason Lester does not know that, nor does Sammy Farha, really.
I call Sammy.
He's going to call it. 400,000 pot, and Sammy turns over the aces right away, and Jason 200,000 chips less than he had just a moment ago, shot down by Sammy Farha's bullets. Welcome back to Las Vegas. There you see the chip count of our 4 remaining players. Sam Farha over 3 million. Chris Moneymaker approaching that. Dan Harrington throws in his cards. Over to Chris Moneymaker. He has Queen Jack. How much of the stack does he want to siphon off? 100,000 worth. Sam Farha throws in, will not play. Over to Jason Lester now. Ace queen suited.
A good hand in most circumstances and even a better hand in a short game.
350.
He likes it 350,000 worth.
And since they both have queens, actually in this situation, if Moneymaker were to call, Jason Lester about a 3-to-1 favorite in the hand. The ace being the key, and of course he's also got an early heart draw.
Chris Moneymaker is going to call Jason Lester.
So Lester a clear favorite as we go into the flop.
Moneymaker and Lester, the only players on this flop. Chris Moneymaker needs some help with these cards to come, and wow, did he get it!
He's flopped the top straight. My goodness.
8, 9, 10, Jack Queen. Wow.
Oh, but Jason Lester doesn't know that. He goes all in, and Moneymaker calls immediately, turns over his cards, and like puts a knife into the side of Jason Lester.
Jack or heart would be nice.
Indeed, that would give him a straight as well and a split pot. The turn now comes a queen. 2 queens for Jason, still not good enough.
No, he has to have a jack to stay alive.
And now the river card, a 3 of diamonds. Not going to do it. Chris Moneymaker wins the hand. Jason Lester eliminated 4th place, $440,000.
And Moneymaker remains a one-man posse. He's a bounty hunter who keeps just piling up skins.
Well, a moment ago, we saw him go heads up against Tomer Benvenisti, took him out, and now Jason Lester in the same situation is eliminated. It has been quite a ride for this 27-year-old internet poker player.
Words can't really describe how good I'm feeling right now. You know, I try not to express the emotion too much until I really can, because I'm not there yet. I'm not to my goal. I want to win the whole thing.
Stack it good here, it's nice and tight, so it can fall out before it doesn't stick.
Hey, now.
When they bring the money on the table, if I'm still in, I would be real nervous playing heads up with all that money on the table. I'd rather than keep the money in the bag.
Money. Oh, money.
I mean, I got all the support in the world, and it makes it a lot easier. You know, I've got friends back home rooting for me. I've had friends fly out.
Good job, buddy. What a call, what a call.
You know, my wife and family are sitting there. They'll have it on webcast today, and they've called every 5-10 minutes trying to get updates of where I was. It makes you really feel good and feel confident, you know, and that you have that support.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I'll play in tournaments more probably now that I've done this well. I'm not gonna quit work and become a poker player. I enjoy what I do, and I'll continue just to live a normal life.
While Chris's wife and daughter stay back home and follow the action over the internet, his dad is here in the house supporting him.
You couldn't have scripted a better story, could you?
Never dreamed. I knew he could play, but I didn't know he could play this good.
I wonder how much money he's taken off Dad over the years. Chris Moneymaker with ever-increasing crowd support behind him. He has won over a lot of the fans here at Binion's. Down to 3 players now at the World Series. Chris with an ace-4 suited.
Be careful.
Always careful.
Advice from the vet?
Yeah, and a $125,000 bet is reasonably careful. Pocket queens.
Yeah, he knows what to do with this.
I'll raise it.
And he will raise.
He's not going to take his own advice. He's not going to be as careful.
350 is the raise. One of the more cautious players, Dan Harrington, drops out. We go heads up, Moneymaker and Farha. The call is to Moneymaker. And he does call it. So we have a 2-handed flop. And it is Jack 3 ace, and Moneymaker's 2 aces just trumped the queens.
Yes, they did. And Farha can't like to see the ace out there.
Checks. Chris Moneymaker just put down 200,000 chips. And a glare.
Well, as I said, the only cards that would have bothered Sammy are the ace or the king, because then aces or kings would beat his pocket queens. So he's trying to figure out whether he thinks Mr. Moneymaker is holding on to an ace.
You see that percentage next to Moneymaker, a huge advantage right now. Sammy's not going to play ball with Chris Moneymaker.
He loses the hand, but he shows he may have got a read on Moneymaker, because he's correct to assume he had the aces.
Well, Sam checks with his more modest rooting section and says, what can I do with a kid? And with that pot, Chris takes over the chip leadership.
Is there a certain way it gets loaded in?
Very tight rein on the World Series first prize money here in the cage at Benion's. $2.5 million waiting for the winner. You don't see that in your neighborhood game. Welcome back to Benion's. Chris Moneymaker, our new chip leader. Dan Harrington with a lot of work to do.
Yeah, he's short stacked and he usually likes to sit tight, but when it gets late, he will start to get more aggressive. And you know, Dan's a lot tougher than he looks. He looks like he's a nice man sitting on his front porch about to give you directions to the mall, but he's going to end up taking your money when you're not looking most of the time.
Harrington's hole cards, King 10, worthy of a bet. Not only short-handed, but at this point with that stack, over to Chris Moneymaker. Ace Queen, definitely worthy of a raise now. 100,000 is the raise. What's this? Dan Harrington thinks his King's 10 good enough for an all-in.
I'll call.
And Chris Moneymaker is going to call the bet.
And Harrington sees Moneymaker's ace and knows he's behind in the hand.
Low cards, low cards.
Dan, though, doesn't have the luxury of picking out what hand he's going to go all in with. That was a good one to go all in with. And the 10 on the flop gives him the lead now in the hand.
And here comes the turn card. It's a jack.
Moneymaker would need an ace or a queen, or now a king for a straight to knock out Dan Harrington.
Here comes the river card. It's a 3 of spades, not good enough. Chris Moneymaker loses this hand, and Dan Harrington survives his all-in call and doubles his chips.
That wasn't supposed to happen. Good hand.
Thank you.
Now Chris Moneymaker giving the 95 champion the respect that he is due. But that's one thing that Harrington hasn't always had.
I have a funny story. I have a cousin, Padraig Harrington, and he's a golfer on the tour.
What a shot by Padraig Harrington.
Back in '95.
Dan Harrington's our 1995 world champion. All right.
I go home, and my mother, she says, "Oh yeah, you won the $1 million. That's nice." And she says, "But you hear about our cousin Padraig?" He says, "He's just in Spain. He won a tournament for $90,000." And I say, "Mom, I'm the world champion at poker. I won $1 million." And she says, and he's doing well on the European tour. All the people at home are real proud of him.
Padraig Harrington dominates the competition.
So it's funny how parents think.
Well, that's a tough draw when your mom is not impressed when you win $1 million. Well, Dan Harrington does have the respect of the people who know poker, and well deserved. Chris Moneymaker with a queen deuce. Sam Farha folds. Now over to the very well respected around these circles, Dan Harrington. And Harrington with an ace-4 calls
I'm
the
trying
bet.
on him. I'm still in the last round.
I don't blame you. I'm on the first day.
Fatigue setting in on these guys. Here comes the flop. Oh, and it's huge for Moneymaker. 2 more queens.
So 3 queens for Chris. Harrington checks.
100,000 from Chris Moneymaker on the bet. And Harrington calls it.
And on the turn, Moneymaker makes a full house, queens over 2s, but he checks it. And he might be trying to induce Harrington to maybe make a hand on the river and call on the river, thinking Harrington might have left on the turn.
The 7 is no help on the river. Harrington checks. Moneymaker's now going to turn up the heat on Dan.
For $400,000, Harrington, of course, has aces up.
Harrington is going to call it. That was quick for Dan Harrington. And Chris Moneymaker turns over his hand, shows him the full house, and a big hit on Dan Harrington. For Harrington, the stack gets shorter and shorter. For Chris Moneymaker, it continues to grow. Over $4 million now for that man.
And Farha can't like to see Harrington's chips going over to Chris Moneymaker.
Well, Sam might be thinking he'll be in a heads-up match very soon with Chris Moneymaker, studying the young gun's habits carefully.
Hey, here's where they don't need to waste any more time, and then you take Harrington out right here.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the 2003 World Series of Poker. Just 3 players remaining in the tournament. That means 836 people have already gone home losers. At least they have their memories, as sad as they may be.
Tell me why I'm still crying over you. Tell me how I wound up such a fool.
Dilly, dilly, willy.
Tell me when these heartaches will be through.
I guess somebody had to do it.
Oh, tell me why I'm still crying over you.
Send it, baby.
You're trying to start a war here, Sam.
And you want some snacks?
Must be the shirt.
Closing my eyes.
I won. That's how you got balls, baby.
All right, relax, relax.
Should we order some pizza?
All you can eat, baby.
Thank you, Jesus. Day by day, dawn till dark, I think of you and fall apart. I can't explain the reasons why.
You can come out now.
I run to you when you go walking by.
Mother.
Tell me why I'm still crying over you.
You know my heart is pure.
Tell me how I wound up such a fool.
You wouldn't believe it if I told you.
Tell me when these heartaches will be through.
There's the gas.
Oh, tell me why I'm still crying over you.
We play poker now.
I'm still crying over you.
Bye-bye.
Well, any one of these 3 can still win the World Series of Poker. All of our 3 remaining players over $1 million chips right now. Sam Farha in second position in the leadership board, and he's got a couple of 5s. He'll throw out 100,000 of those chips. Dan Harrington will not throw any more away. Chris Moneymaker indicates he will match the bet at least with his ace-7. He's going to make it 400,000 to Sam Farha.
Sam wasting no time calling the raise. 2 riverboat gamblers.
This could be it. You'll never know. For one of us.
At this point, any hand could be it for anybody. Here comes the flop. It is 8, 3, 10, and 3 diamonds.
And they both have picked up a diamond draw. Moneymaker's diamond draw is better. And he bets. Sam looks like he's going to least call. Even though Sam's ahead in the hand with a pair of 5s, Moneymaker now the slight favorite because of the diamond draw, and he has 2 overcards.
Here comes the turn card, 6 of hearts. No more diamonds there on the board.
And Moneymaker now has actually also picked up an inside straight draw. He still has no hand, but he has a diamond draw and an inside straight draw.
And he goes right to his stack. He puts out 500,000 to Sam Farha.
And puts Farha to the test, who has a pair of 5s and a diamond draw, bad diamond draw.
You see the pot size of 1.6 million. No call from Sam Farha. You surprised?
Well, it was a semi-bluff on Moneymaker's part because he could have gotten there, and Sam didn't have that strong in a hand and decided to play conservatively.
Sam Farha, as much as he hated to do it, threw the cards in, and a big win there for Chris Moneymaker. And with so many chips in all of these hands, it would not take a long rush at all to change the complexion of this entire game.
Harrington remaining tough here. You know, Dan was also a backgammon and chess champion besides a poker champion. Essentially, when he sits down at a table, you want to get up. And he is going to play the 5-3 suited right here for 100,000.
Over to Chris Moneymaker. You see his ace-9. He will call it. And the ace, of course, gives him that advantage. You see the 59% next to his name. Over to Sam Farha. Sam will go in as well.
So we'll get three-way action.
And the flop is 4, Jack, 7, and Sammy pairs his Jack.
Harrington picks up an inside straight draw, and Sammy will check the Jacks. And they'll check around.
Over to the turn. Another Jack for Farha.
A commanding position now for Farha, and this time he's not going to sit on it.
No bet from Moneymaker, but of course Sam Farha with those 3 Jacks bets 150,000.
Moneymaker now would be drawing dead, and he's going to call. He doesn't even have a good draw, but he's drawing dead on the river. No card could help him against Sammy Farha.
Here comes the river card. It's a 6 of diamonds. Chris Moneymaker checks over to Farha.
The reason it's always tough to get a read on Sammy Farha is he always takes the same amount of time, the same expression on his face. You never know whether he's holding a monster or whether he's holding nothing.
And now he goes to the stack. 500,000 to Chris Moneymaker.
And I can't imagine him wanting to call here. All he has is ace high. But again, he's just not sure whether what Sammy has. You never are sure.
Chris Moneymaker wants no part of it. Farha wins a big pot.
Oh, what'll happen? Just Sam will fool around and bluff, and Chris will catch him.
That's what you're waiting for.
Well, when we come back, we will see if Mr. Moneymaker's crystal ball sent him the correct message. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, and the 2003 World Series of Poker. It is just past midnight. Just 3 players out of the original field of 839 still remaining in this game. One of the favorites right now, and one of the favorites throughout the tournament, Sam Farha. He's a colorful and confident character who was not afraid to talk some trash to try and get his opponents off their game.
Sam Farha. I'm very superstitious. If I have a winning session, I'll keep the same things on. The same moves, the same thing. I don't smoke. And I keep the same cigarette. And if I lose a pot, I'll change the cigarette. Throw it away, put another one. Very superstitious. I'll break even if I win this tournament. I just break even on this trip. My style is very dangerous. For one reason. I like to play with their heads. This guy is strong, don't mess with him. Come on. Live game, I'll mess with you, but here, I don't mess with you. I'm sorry, what? You might beat me 2,000 a hand, but if you have 100,000, I will get it in one hand. I play good players. I have advantage. They give me free cards. They do not bluff me. Good player cannot break me. I can break him. And that's the difference I have. Now, on the other way around, bad player, I can do that to him. I have to have a hand.
How do you think Sam Farha regards Chris Moneymaker right now, Norm?
When Farha says a bad player, he means a loose player, and he would think Moneymaker is a loose player, and so he's going to be a little worried about him, not sure how worried to be about him.
No, he does not have to worry about him in this hand as Chris Moneymaker throws his cards away. And now to Sam Farha, you see them as he sees them, a king 5. And he'll make the bet over to Dan Harrington with a king 9. And he does raise it. It's 100,000 back to Sam Farha. And Sam decides to call.
Sam loves to see flops.
It's 9, 5, and 8. Harrington now with 2 9s.
And Farha with 2 5s. They're sharing the king, so Harrington way ahead in the hand right now.
Harrington bets after Farha checked. Sam Farha will call. Bet of 150,000. Now the turn card, 2 of spades.
No help to either player. The 9's now in a better position against the 5s.
And Dan Harrington is confident. He's going to move it all in again. The pot over $1 million. Harrington put in about $420,000.
And Farha has been in this position several times today where he's not really holding a very strong hand and he hates to give them up, but he's got to put a lot of chips in to keep playing.
He's going to fold it. He plays with his cards. He plays with his chips. He plays with his chips with his left hand. He folds.
The eyes in the sky, the moneymaker eyes.
Wow.
Sam's playing with his left hand and he folds.
Maybe we should hire Mr. Moneymaker as an analyst.
Well, he's got a pretty good track record so far. Dan Harrington has a lot of work to do. A nice win there, hanging tough.
And meanwhile, Farha appears to be getting a bit frustrated. It's almost as if he's sitting in the driver's seat, but he can't reach the steering wheel.
Let's put it all in and see who wins. One hand.
I've been trying to do that.
All right, yeah, let's do the three of us, yeah.
Do you want to do that? Without looking, deal the cards and let's see who wins.
What the hell? Let's gamble.
We've been gambling.
You'll have a better shot this way. I mean, I'll have a better shot this way.
I figure my chances go down, but what the hell, I'll give you guys a break.
Yeah, Sammy just wants to take the gloves off, get in the middle of the ring, and just start punching. That's his style.
And everybody was willing. I don't think Binions is going to let him do that. So Dan Harrington bets over to the big blind Chris Moneymaker, who calls that. Checks it, actually. Here comes the flop. It's 2-6-10, all diamonds.
So a diamond draw for Harrington with a pair of 6s, but Moneymaker has a pair of 10s.
Dan Harrington will bet $150,000, and Moneymaker raised it immediately.
And that raise would force Dan Harrington to go all in.
All right, I call it.
Dan Harrington has risked elimination one more time, this time against Chris Moneymaker.
And he'd love to see a diamond come up. A 6 or a king would also help Harrington.
Here comes the turn card, Ace of Hearts.
And now he's down to one card. He needs the king, the 6, or the diamond to stay alive.
The river card is the final card for Dan Harrington. He is eliminated. Chris Moneymaker knocks another big player out of the tournament. 1995 champion Dan Harrington goes out in 3rd place with a payday of $650,000.
Oh, money! Woo! Yeah, baby.
That's the boy. That's the kid.
All right, well, let's go down to the rail and find out who Dan Harrington favors to win this championship.
I would say that Sammy has the edge. He's a high-action, experienced player, has been under enormous pressure before, knows what it is, and let's face it, this kid is playing for a big prize for the first time in his life. It's a lot of money, a lot of pressure. That's why you hear in sports, when you go to the championship game, the first time you get there, you usually don't win because you're just happy to be there.
Guys, the game's on now. You're a millionaire, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. You ready to have some fun? You ready to have some fun?
Good job. You're doing a good job.
Well, this is it. 839 players down to just 2. And there you see the $2.5 million first prize carried up from the vault in a $2 cardboard box. It's a Binions tradition. Unlike other events, when you win it all here at the World Series of Poker, you can indeed walk right out of the casino with the cold, hard cash.
Look at all that cash on the table. At my home game, we have mostly food stamps on the table.
Well, let's find out from some former champs why this is considered the Super Bowl of poker.
Everybody's dream is to win the big tournament.
It's just the pinnacle of poker, and there can only be one a year.
Helmuth wins the championship.
It's the biggest prize money, the biggest field of players.
This is the tournament that everybody waits an entire year for.
The worst day of the year
Good luck, fellas.
is the day you get knocked out of this tournament.
Johnny Chan, the master.
Winning the World Series is like a poker dream comes true. You're gonna have $2-3 million in cash.
They wheel out the money and they dump it on the table. It was a nice feeling the first time I fondled $1 million.
What I love the most, respect. And in your picture on the wall, we will recognize you.
We did it, man!
Greatest feeling, man.
We're ready to go heads up for that first prize money of $2.5 million. Chris Moneymaker about a 2-to-1 chip lead right now. Does that give him the big favorite status here?
No, actually, I got my money's on Farha. I mean, this isn't exactly David versus Goliath, but it's maybe David versus Hulk Hogan. I mean, Sammy's been around the block. He's seen the slingshot. He's been in so many more situations than Chris Moneymaker.
100.
Sam comes out firing 100,000 is the bet with his King 6 suited. Over to Chris Moneymaker. 5-2 suited.
And everybody with spades.
And here we go with the flop. It's a 10-9-4. Only one spade out there.
It's a very ugly looking flop. No help for anybody. And they both check.
Onto the turn card. And there is another spade. It's an 8.
And now Sammy far ahead in the hand. First of all, he's got king high. He's got the higher spade draw, and he's also got an inside straight draw.
But Chris Moneymaker is going to bet 150,000.
Pause for concern for Mr. Farha.
Well, these two gone head-to-head enough at this final table. Trying to get some read on each other, and Sammy reaches out and does call. And now for the final card, the river. And it's a king, and Sammy matches his king.
And pair of kings is the best hand right now. Moneymaker had to check.
Oh, and the pained look on Sam's face.
He looks this way when he's ordering dinner.
Trying to send some mixed signals maybe to Moneymaker? Who knows? And he's going to throw out 300,000 chips to Chris Moneymaker,
who has absolutely no hand.
And no call from Chris Moneymaker. He realizes if Sam has any type of a hand that's going to beat him, wise to throw it away.
And Sam's still far down in the chip count, but I've got a feeling he's going to be getting into a groove. He's got to feel confident going heads up against Chris Moneymaker.
Approaching 1:30 in the morning. Final table has taken 11 hours or so to this point.
Don't do it.
Chris Moneymaker's going to do it anyway. Reaches for 100,000 chips with a king 7. Sam Farha with a queen 9. We'll call that bet.
When it's heads up, odd things happen.
Flop comes 9-2-6. Farha has made a pair of 9s. Chris Moneymaker has nothing and checks. Checks for Farha as well. The turn is an 8.
And now they both have a spade draw.
300,000 from Sam Farha,
who has the pair of 9s, and Moneymaker also has a straight draw and will raise.
There's a 300.
Raising.
No, I raise.
Very adamant about his raise.
Indeed. Still stacking chips. It's a big raise.
5 more.
500,000 is the raise.
It's quite a play. It's sort of a semi-bluff. He still could get there on a straight draw or flush draw, but he has nothing right now, and Sam comes right on in.
We're going to see the river card.
You said it's going to be over soon.
It may well be. And is a 3 of hearts.
Moneymaker doesn't get to either draw, and the pair of 9s is best.
I'm on.
Chris is all in.
Chris Moneymaker going all in with nothing.
A stunning play from Moneymaker, who missed his draws, has nothing, and now has put Sam Farha all in. He would have to put all his chips in, and if he lost this pot, he would be out of the tournament. Moneymaker bluffed at this once, and Farha came. He's now bluffing at it again.
You must have missed your flush, huh?
Sam's absolutely right.
This would be a tough, tough call for Sammy.
Is Chris bluffing this time?
No.
He ain't bluffed all night.
No.
It's quite a predicament for Sammy. He has a pair of nines. It's the best hand, but he can't know that. And if he calls this bet and loses, we're playing for the World Championship. If he's wrong, he's out of it. He's the runner-up. So it's really tough just to sit here and call with a pair of nines, particularly when Moneymaker has made 2 big bets in a row.
I'll make a crazy call on you. It could be the best hand.
Sam Farha trying to draw something out of Chris Moneymaker, but he's like a statue, afraid to make any sort of move.
Sam, you want to save yourself or you won't call.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Sam.
Don't do it.
He is not going to do it. Chris Moneymaker bluffs Sam Farha out of a big stack of money.
And considering this situation, I know we're early in the century, but that's the bluff of the century. What a play from Chris Moneymaker.
Price of poker is going to go high now.
I figured it would.
Well, it's 50-50. I almost called you.
I'll turn my head.
Sorry?
You can tell me what you had, I'll turn my head.
No, I don't care. He asked me what I have. I said I had a pair, big pair, and a flush draw. Queen high flush. But the queen high flush draw, if I make it. And pair.
A pair?
Queens.
A pair of queens. There wasn't, you have 2 queens in your hand? There wasn't a queen on the board, was there? No, the highest card was a 10.
I had queens in my hand.
You had queens in your hand.
Nice try, Sam. Casino continuing this heads-up battle for the World Championship of Texas Hold'em Poker. Chris Moneymaker with a commanding chip lead right now on Sam Farha. We know how quickly that can change, though. Chris Moneymaker's cards 5 and 4.
In fact, if Sammy can double up, he would take the chip lead, and that's how it is when you're heads up.
Sam Farha looks at a Jack-10 and bets 100,000 to Moneymaker, who quickly calls it.
Sammy a 2-to-1 favorite right now going into the flop.
And here it comes. It is Jack 5-4, 2 pair for Chris Moneymaker, 1 for Sam Farha.
Your top pair for Sam Farha, but once again, Chris Moneymaker has gotten another fortunate flop.
Chris Moneymaker checks now over to Sam Farha, who throws in a bet of 175,000. He's reaching.
I'm gonna raise.
The raise is 300,000 now. Back to Farha.
Okay, I'll go all in. Let's go. Let's remember.
I'll call.
Sam Farha goes all in, and Chris Moneymaker's going to call it.
One pair for Sam Farha.
And Sam sees the grim news, and with 2 pair, Chris Moneymaker, a statistical improbability to win this title at the outset, is now closing in on making it an incredible reality.
Turn card is an 8 of diamonds.
No help yet, and Farha to stay alive would need a jack, a 10, or an 8, or this is over.
1 card away from a new World Chris Moneymaker.
This could be the last card of the 2003 World Series of Poker.
It's a 5.
With a full house, Chris Moneymaker eliminates Sam Farha, and the 27-year-old has stepped out of the virtual poker room and in a very swift and unlikely manner is atop the poker world.
This is beyond fairy tale. It's inconceivable.
Well played.
I missed the flush and I missed the straight draw on that one.
Earlier?
That king high.
Made one bad mistake. Good job. Good job. Very good play.
Good job.
Congratulations.
I'm nervous.
Chris Moneymaker, the young accountant from Nashville, Tennessee, started out this tournament like many others as dead money, and nervous dead money at that.
It goes up to you, right?
I didn't even know I had a hand. I'm sorry. Golly. Hell, I thought y'all were in the hand.
But after a couple of days, he showed that he was very alive and very dangerous.
Chris, you turned $40 into $2.5 million. Was this the game plan from day one?
Of course it was.
With a dramatic string of knockouts, Moneymaker puts his name amongst the greatest players in the game.
It hadn't sunk in yet. I see this money and it's not real yet. So probably tomorrow morning when I wake up, it'll hit home and I'll probably go out and dance or something. I don't know what I'll do.
And he proved that anyone, truly anyone, could become the next world champion of poker.